I see that little boy that was running for home because we were like, run home, Jamison. You know, I see that innocence, that talent, that what could have been before he got involved in what eventually took his life. And as a parent, I will always struggle with what could I have done to prevented that. And I've talked about that and thought about that so much, and people say you did the best you could. Well, did I? Did I? You know, it's pretty terrible that he died way before his time, and there's nothing you can do about it. You know, I still want to, as a parent, I still want to fix it. You know, your mind that pulls these little scenarios, like you can still fix it. You can still go back and what if, you know, do this or do that, and avoid that terrible outcome that happened. And then you come back to present day in real life, it's like, no, he's gone, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it.
I didn't consciously think this, but you talking about wanting to fix it, me making the tribute series, I think part of me unconsciously thought me making this tribute to him is going to be setting things right somehow. And it occurred to me, like, there is no setting this right. You know, it happened, and there's only what to do after the fact, and there's only moving forward. So making the series, there's not going to be a happy, triumphant ending. All this stuff we're talking about, you don't really correct anything or fix anything. You just do it. Maybe it helps, and maybe it's a good gesture, and maybe he can see it. And that's something that I hope a lot, is just that somehow he can know that he's being thought of, and he's remembered, and he's loved, and that people are putting time and effort into something kind of as a way of honoring him. I just hope there's some way he can know that and feel that. We don't know if he can know or not, but what's the alternative to doing things in his memory and his honor and things that help us? What's the alternative to that? Here's this fight. This was loads of fun.
Did you not like it?
This fight was a huge pain when I did it.
Oh, really?
I was getting juggled by...
Your Majesty!
What's this handsome, like, floating around with this little swirly barrier thing. Damaging, or whichever, I think it was Ansem.
Right.
He would just, like, track to me and just be like, brum, 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 and just bouncing me forever. I didn't lose. I beat it on my first try, but it was just like a pain.
Xemnas! Where's Kyrie?
Wait, is she in trouble?
Yeah, Xemnas took her.
Settle down, boy.
It's Sora!
The 13 darknesses and 7 lights have clashed 9 times, yielding these 9 keys.
Keys?
We are 4 short, but those 4 keys will be produced here and now.
Yeah, sure. And what makes you think there'd ever be any way we'd help you with that?
You forget I plan for every eventuality.
Kyrie!
If you do summon Kingdom Hearts, we will defeat you. And we will close it again.
Perhaps, that is, if you survive that long.
I think Christopher Lloyd does a pretty good job of actually
kind of emoting.
I like the guy. I actually really like the previous guy.
I thought he sounded good.
But Christopher Lloyd, I think, actually sounds closer to Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah. Some people were saying they actually originally wanted Christopher Lloyd to replace him. Yeah. I read that and I was like, oh wow. No, I think the old guy was fine. I think he sounded great as Xehanort. I just think some of his deliveries were kind of flat.
Oh. I didn't think they were flat. I thought some of them were kind of awkward. I think he was actually my favorite Xehanort voice overall, though.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Just like the way he sounded?
Yeah,
it was very deep. Not quite as like gravelly as Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah. Leonard Nimoy I think was kind of too gravelly.
Oh,
for like such a kind of weak old guy. Well, I guess not weak, but like just such an old man.
Yeah. Like this dude's supposed to be like freaking 90 or something.
Yeah. No disrespect to
Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, no.
Or any of these guys.
Yeah.
I criticize their acting somewhat when they were live. I can do it after the fact as well. Like if Leonard Nimoy had voiced Xehanort, you know, if he were still alive and he had voiced Xehanort the whole way through, it would have been totally fine.
Yeah.
Never had an issue with his voice. It just the opportunity to compare them exists.
Yeah. It's unfortunate that his voice has had to be changed so many times in such like such a short amount of time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What's so funny?
I told you. There's a high price to pay for all of this.
And what price would that be?
I'll go back to my time and live out my life. But Sora, you're done now. Your journey ends here.
What?
Goodbye, Sora. Your time in this world is...
Hey, he's so mean, man.
It's kind of crazy.
Because, like, you didn't get the impression he was evil from talking to Master of Masters. He's, like, taking genuine delight in just this boy, like, I guess, disappearing.
Surrender to it!
Oh no. Oh, this is the thing I was talking about, this merry-go-round here.
Are you ready to go? Come on!
Cool. What? Okay. Was this in the base game? I forget.
I don't remember, honestly. I feel like it may have.
Take this!
That went a lot smoother this time.
Bested.
Yeah.
Yet again.
I know that you have a heart. What do you feel? Was it worth it?
I feel the emptiness where my companions once stood. I took them for granted.
Now that you have beaten me senseless with blunt objects, I see the error of my ways.
Nothing.
I realize that I was wrong because you have beaten the crap out of me.
In years.
It's like covered in like...
For as long as I can remember.
He's like all black and blue, covered in like bumps and bruises.
Loneliness.
Missing some teeth.
Now that I have a concussion, I understand the moral of the story that was written by writers.
Pain is being human, Xemnas.
I am jealous that you were written to have understood the moral all along.
Incredible strength.
Not time to kill the other guy.
Time to stick a key through his gullet.
Sora and Riku high-five each other.
Yeah. Yeah!
Like, Xemnas' like sad speech there just didn't mean anything to him.
They're just like delighting in their death. Like they're so numbed by just killing things throughout the whole game.
Goodness.
Oh yeah. This is insane, man. There's a freaking Keyblade tornado going on and you're on a carousel.
Is he hurting me? No, he can't.
No, you have invincibility frames. Oh wait, I think you can actually get hit in the attraction. That was magical.
The darkness.
I know.
I know. What else would you reach for?
Like, he's basically a Pokemon at this point.
Yeah.
Darkness, darkness, hearts, hearts, darkness.
Ansem.
Ansem, don't you know that light is good and dark is bad? Yes, now I know. Okay, goodbye.
It's strange. I think I'm gonna miss you.
Your strength is vaster than darkness. I knew I never stood a chance. Part of me wanted to defy my fate. But when the others betrayed us, I found I did not care. And then, nothing else seemed to matter anymore.
Nothing matters anymore!
Ansem.
What? It is time to move on, boy. There is more to seek. So go forth now and seek it.
He's telling him to seek something else. Xehanort.
Yeah.
He's gonna sever Kyrie's spine with a key.
Mortal Kombat finishing move.
Fatality. You were bested by a girl who never even held a lightsaber.
Maybe just one more.
Surprised they didn't get Troy Baker to voice Xehanort.
Now, Sora. Darkness and light's final clash.
He's doing a great job. I gotta say, Christopher Lloyd is...
Kyrie!
You require motivation.
Kyrie! Why her? Why?
I have done it. Now, the Keyblade War will finally reach its conclusion. The Keyblade is complete. Kingdom Hearts, I call upon your true form. Open now and show me the world to come.
He's doing a great job. Christopher Lloyd is fantastic as this.
Yeah. Sounds more like an excited old man. And the other guy sounded a bit more just kind of tired, I guess.
The other guy sounded like a strange man, like a different sort of thinker, which I actually thought was really appropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christopher Lloyd does do the excited, like, grandiose
We
stuff
thought you
really
might
well.
be able to use a couple of more half points.
Donald. Goofy.
Oh yeah, and the sky's like this instead of all gray.
You can't do anything without us, Sora.
Well, it was strange that, like, just lasers were raining down from Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
So this is way better.
Majesty?
Master Xehanort.
It's me! I'm glad my voice is reaching you.
He controls Kingdom Hearts now. And Your Majesty, Kyrie's... You worried?
I know, but we can still save her.
Guys, what's happening?
took so long?
Master Xehanort's got a lot of tricks up his sleeve. Kyrie's one of the 7 hearts, which is why he crystallized her, so he can use her as insurance until Kingdom Hearts is opened. She's his last resort.
Now. Then how do we get her back?
We've still got one hope.
Your Majesty, Riku, are you okay?
We're fine.
Yeah.
What hope?
It's Xehanort. During the Mark of Mastery exam, we learned that he can transcend space and time. He's a portal, and we can use that to trap him.
But it won't be easy. Aqua, Riku, I'll need both your help if we're gonna push Xehanort out of this world.
Understood.
Wait! I'll do it.
What?
Kingdom Hearts is a much bigger threat. Let me handle Xehanort, while you guys keep it shut.
I still don't really get this plot point. He's a portal?
Right.
Yeah.
Like he's
okay, Sora.
I got this.
He's the point at which all these versions of himself from different points in time are converging, but anyone could do that. Like, theoretically with the rules of this universe.
Yeah, I guess so.
Like, he's a portal, but how does that mean you push him out of this world, and how does that help with Kingdom Hearts?
It's not like we'll be much help here.
I don't know.
It's like, let's write some words to have them say and play the music so people just assume it makes sense, and maybe it makes sense to the guy and he just didn't
move.
Explain
the
it
darkness is spreading.
I think in like fantasy and stuff, like rules are extremely important, so you understand the implications of like everything that's happening and kind of what's at stake.
Hey.
Say with like horror movies, when like there's a mysterious monster or something, like rules are really important.
I can feel it.
Kingdom Hearts has always just been extremely, well, it's gotten progressively more confusing about establishing and explaining rules and consistency. It feels like with every game the past 10, 12 years, it's like added more and more like the time travel stuff, and then waking is now a thing, and I don't fully understand that.
It's just the power to wake up sleeping hearts, like how Ven was.
And so, the final battle ended, but Kyrie didn't return. Even if I continue the search with my past self, I won't find her. What should I do? Kyrie, where are you? Master Xehanort's portal. That's it!
I go to Tom and Tom's.
Sure.
I went and got the bow while I was at it, if you want to look at it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I'll,
This is the dogwood bow?
Yes.
Are the dogwood bow and the one that you ground flint into one and the same?
Yeah,
oh,
see
okay. Misunderstood that.
See the little flakes of flint?
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Gives it some texture.
It's got a bumpy feel to it, but
yeah.
I sealed that in true oil. This arrowhead is a real Indian arrowhead that I found in my parents' garden when I was a kid, so I kind of incorporate that into the bow.
Uh-huh.
I made these beads here. This lacing is called Spanish lace, the style. This is from a beaver tail. Here's what Jamison.
Move to the left a little bit. Yeah, there you go. And then down a little bit. Okay. Yeah, the blossom.
So he painted that on there. I did the lettering.
That's cool.
And this is the antler.
Down a little bit. Okay. So that's just one of the ends.
Yeah. You know, there's one on each
on each end. Okay. Yeah, and it's just in there. And it works.
Yeah. And it's all cosmetic. I mean, those are called overlays, and they're actually a little bit heavy. So from a performance standpoint, you know, having that extra weight on the tips is not great, but I did harvest a deer with that bow.
So you cooked it and ate it and used the antlers.
Well, I'm sure I've got the antlers somewhere, but I cook. I process deer myself. You know, do all the meat, cutting up and grinding it if I make any burger. You know.
You can angle the phone down some. Yeah,
Oh,
starting to
sorry.
not see your face. That's okay.
I was just trying to do you a favor.
So I actually put some thought into what I am wearing for a lot of videos I record, even if it's just some small little insignificant thing, some kind of connection in my mind. And I haven't worn either of these shirts in years, just because I have too many clothes that I've accumulated. But I was gonna wear this shirt, which when I came back to Tennessee in 2015, before I went to Korea, I had to leave behind a lot of clothes in Seattle. So remember, you took me bargain shopping at that whatever that bargain discount store over by like Riverside is, and is where the old mall used to be. Bargain Bin?
Oh yeah.
Bargain Hunt?
Bargain Hunt, I think it's called.
You took me there and Goodwill and stuff, and so yeah, you recommended, you picked out this shirt and said I should get this shirt, and it has a bunch of, I don't know if you can see clearly from the camera, but it has a bunch of like ships and compass and north, south, east, west, just like a bunch of nautical stuff.
That's a cool shirt.
Yeah.
I like that shirt.
It's really wrinkly right now. But I was going to wear that, but I haven't worn it in so long it's wrinkly, and I was like, no, I'm not going to be wearing this for this video. But it's just because you...
Can I show you something just to maybe a little insight? As when I was a kid, I used to love to draw. I used to draw sailing ships.
Okay.
And I read a lot. And I used to read like Horatio Hornblower and, different. But I just wanted to show you this. Can you see it?
Yeah, you've shown me that before.
This is a scrimshaw.
Up a little bit.
And it's the second powder horn that I made.
Yeah, powder horn. Yeah. You drew that.
Yeah, I first drew it on there with pencil, and then I scribed it, which is using a very, very sharp. I even did this, made a little spear shape or harpoon for the plug. But, you see 2021 on here, so.
Pretty decent.
Yeah, that's just kind of showing you. And here's one that kind of incorporates some of my deer hunting. You see I did
an acorn, yeah.
And that's walnut. That's actually 3 different pieces of walnut, one of which is inside the horn, for the gluing of it. But it's 3 different pieces of walnut glued together. But I went online first, and like all this up here, I saw on some actual Revolutionary War powder horn samples. And some of the vine work here, while it doesn't look that realistic from what an actual vine would look like.
No, it's stylized.
That's what I saw some of that on Revolutionary War powder horns. And even the border, like what's going around this elk, there again, I got off the Revolutionary War powder horn. So I wanted to incorporate some old
style
patterns that I saw and art that I saw into this powder horn. And this picture of a deer, that is actually from a trail camera picture of a actual deer that I've got with his head down and everything. I copied it as closely as I could when I drew it, and from our property that we own. So that's not just some picture I got off the internet. That's from a trail camera of a deer on our property.
Well, that makes it more personalized.
There's a hummingbird, and so this is the last one I did, and I just wanted to do one with a hunting theme. And here's some of the carving that I've done.
getting a tour.
This is a wood duck.
Yeah.
These are actual pieces of Indian pottery. You can see the little bits of shell that they would pound and incorporate into their pottery, the little white flakes. Here's one of my heirlooms from my grandmother, the old clock.
From Mama May.
Yeah. And here, this stick here, my dad.
He gave to me. I showed this stick in one of my old videos, yeah. I explained about
this it. This is, I think it's, the wood is sassafras, but a honeysuckle vine grew around there, so he peeled all the bark off of it. And I later sanded it, you know, well after when he passed away. I sanded it and I coated it with True Oil, the same finish that I use on the bows. But that's yours. I think it's pretty special.
Yeah, I like that.
And I hope you will too. At, you know, some point, you know, you're gonna get it. Know that your grandfather actually did that from start to finish for you,
right? When
you was just a little bitty guy. So
a lot of artists in our family. Before we moved too far away from this, the other shirt I thought about wearing that I found was the Primitive Archer shirt that I have.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
But that also needs to be washed. So.
Yeah, I'm sorry I get off on tangents.
No, it's okay. It's fine.
Interrupt what you was trying to.
Well, no, it's just like you have there's so much to show. We're talking about art, and art. You've told me this. Doing your crafts and art is one of the ways that you, like, day to day, kind of feel connected to Jamison and close to him, because he was into that kind of stuff too. And I think everyone probably should have something productive like that gives them some kind. It's obviously, it's making the best of a situation we wish we weren't in, but I think it's kind of a special and healthy way of going about. It's injecting some kind of, it's a way of, like, it's putting some kind of, as much of a positive spin on it as you can, moving forward with this thing that was something that they also did and enjoyed.
Emotions for me in regards to Jamison is, there's some emotions that are just so sad that I stiff arm them pretty much on a daily basis. They're the ones that well up inside of you, and you know, you just can't stay there. You know, you just can't visit that place and stay there and expect to live a productive, happy life. So those, it's a struggle, and I try to stiff arm those emotions and memories. And while it's just, I guess, in my genetic makeup to enjoy art in different forms. Yeah, it's something that Jamison was good at and enjoyed, and when I'm doing it, it is like there's a bond that I feel, and I know that Jamison would think it was cool and would respect it, you know, and it's like, I wish he could see this or that I've done. And
he would look at it, he would seriously think about what went into making it. He wouldn't just look at it and then just, okay, neat, and then be done with it. He would, because he was also of that mind of just how is stuff done, how does stuff work, how is stuff put together. He would really appreciate it on a deeper level than a lot of people would.
That's a good point. I mean, you've heard the term starving artist or whatever, the artists that maybe are trying to make a living off of their art form.
People don't know.
Another hobby that I've got is making knives, and I do the leather sheaths and carve the sheaths, you know, to make them look nice. And it's difficult to try to price, you know. I've sold some of those just for a little extra spending money, but you have so many hours in it, and if you look at pricing it by the number of hours, the actual materials are not all that expensive. But if you try to price it from your labor, you know, in some cases you wouldn't even be making minimum wage, you know. So having said that, a lot of people will see something like a knife in a sheath, or a powder horn that you've decorated, or some carving of an owl or a woodpecker or a wood duck or what have you. And if they've never been involved in some craft or something like that, they don't realize the hours that you put into it. You know, some of those hours, and I mean hours, may just be sanding.
I know.
You've already got it shaped. If it's a, you know, you're just sanding it for hours, because I so appreciate like wood grain, the beauty of wood grain. Well, that wood grain doesn't pop until you've sanded it down, and to me, leaving scratches in it, you know, visible scratches, is just, no. No, it's just, you haven't done it justice if you stop. And so I try to get anything that my name is associated with to look good. And I know with your videos, you're putting a lot of time and effort into those, and research and learning and experience, and it's an art form as well. You know, there's lots of different types of art forms.
Yeah, people don't. Sitting here and having this conversation, anyone who watches this is going to be like, for this video, Jordan talked to his dad. No, there's a lot of, I'm gonna have to, for one thing, I'm gonna have to rewatch this entire conversation, all of it, just to go through and find the parts that I need to edit out. But no, there's a lot that goes into it that people will never know. But I actually feel like my videos are kind of, I mean, I know that it's a different medium, but I feel like my videos are kind of sloppy compared to like the drawings Jamison did, or like the stuff that you carve and create. And I guess part of that's just because I'm extremely new to, I mean, a little over 2 years, but that's pretty new at a craft that I had no experience in whatsoever, aside from some really basic video editing with a totally different program when I was a teenager making like weird music videos and stuff. But you know, I drew some as a kid, and then I just kind of stopped. I've always liked writing, and I think writing is probably the artistic thing that I'm best at. It just comes most naturally. But I certainly haven't been as productive as you or James, and I don't have anywhere near as much to show for it as you two both do.
But let me interject and say that I remember your drawing when you was a kid, and you had the skill. I mean, you did. Your drawing as a kid was way more advanced than most kids your age. You were big into, oh heck, what is it?
Like Mario or Sonic the Hedgehog or something. Oh, your camera's off. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, I was getting a phone call. Something Warthog, some cartoon.
Warthog? Oh, Sonic. Oh,
Character.
Hedgehog. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Hedgehog.
Yeah, Sonic the Hedgehog.
And Darkwing
Duck.
And, I
Yeah.
mean, you drew stuff way back when you was young,
Like 4, 5, 6.
and you would look at some packaging for a toy that you had, and you would not only memorize all the stuff that the packaging said about the toy, you would also draw some of the imaging that was on there, the pictures that was on there, the packaging. And I mean, you were good. You have the talent, whether you realize it or not.
I think if I put time into it, I think I could be good at drawing. It's just there's so much to do in so little time. I want to learn to play guitar. That's still something I'm working on. I made a promise in one of these videos that I would learn guitar and be able to play something at some point during the series for Jamison, so I have to do that now.
Well, you see,
violin,
right
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm starting to try to learn music too. I've been doing tablature, but yeah, I mean, you're my son. So we have different hobbies, and I understand mine jumps around a lot. I try to do a lot of different things, and you just got through climbing a mountain here a few days ago, so
I love hiking.
Yeah.
I think the important thing with a lot of these things is you don't, like Jamison drew, so I have to draw. No, it doesn't have to be one for one. It's just Jamison is involved in some kind of solo creative activity where he explores something creative within himself, and he enjoys that. I think the important thing is that you have something productive that you can do that you also enjoy, and if you enjoy it, you're going to be more likely to, like hiking is, you go on the right hikes, it's hard to finish, but I love it. It's beautiful, and Jamison liked it too. So if it's something that you like all your bows, and the knives and stuff, you talk about selling them and how little money it actually is per hour of your labor. That's not something that you would do unless you just liked doing it. That's the important part.
Right. And back to the hiking, he and Damien,
yeah,
his friend from California, would go on. They would drive sometimes to some park, and it may be 3 or 4 hours away from where he lived, and then go hiking. And I think they were pretty extreme sometimes. And,
yes.
I know one time he said he climbed up some waterfall, and I know as his dad, if I'd have been there, I probably would have been screaming at him. Because he took risks that I don't know if I would have taken. But
that's something I was going to mention actually in a later video, and I will talk about this more, but the hikes I do in Korea is awesome. Like senior citizens, little kid, like there were children, elementary school age kids up at the top of the tallest mountain in Korea that I hiked, that I had a hard time hiking the other day. There were children up there, and there were people older than you up there. Like Korea, they get out and they do it. But like their mountains, they have really well maintained hiking paths with like guide posts and stairs in places because they want people to actually be able to safely reach the top. And in some cases, they have these rails that go along the side of the path to where if you're in trouble, they can have like I guess a cart sent up with somebody in it up the rail to where you are, or down the rail to where you are, and they can get you and easily get you down the mountain if you hurt yourself. So Korea has stuff set up really well, streamlined so that you can go hiking and it's not as much of a risk and everybody can do it. It's very accessible. But yeah, the stuff that Jamison and Damien did together was very off the beaten path. I think by design, if they were in Korea, they probably wouldn't want to follow the tried and true maintained paths. They probably want to go off and do their own thing.
Maybe so, but like you said, even the tried and true paths were physical.
Oh yeah, it's not easy. It's just
very, very challenging.
It's just safe.
It's something I couldn't. There's no way, roles have reversed, Jordan. There's no way that I could hang with you going up those trails. I couldn't do it right now. Maybe I could build back up to it, but I'd have to lose some weight and do some training. But yeah, I got a taste of some of the trails
when you visited. Yeah,
you, near where you live.
I pushed you a lot further than you were willing to go, and you finally. We were pretty close to the top.
That day. I mean, even prior to going to the trails, I think we covered around 9 miles.
So much walking around the city,
which may not sound a lot to some people, but for me, it was quite a bit. And then, at the rear end of those 9 miles was some elevation involved. So yeah, it was
because you're used to spending.
You pushed me.
You live in Clarksville, Tennessee, where everything is spread out and you have to drive everywhere. There aren't really sidewalks in a lot of places. It's not really a city built for just walking places. And on top of that, you live kind of out in the countryside, like away from the main part of the city. So you have to drive just to get to the city, and then even within the city limits, you just drive all the time. Korea is. Everyone walks everywhere in Korea, so yeah, you weren't used to walking as much as we walked when you came here to visit me.
I enjoyed, first and foremost, I enjoyed your company when I went, but I was impressed with the country. I was impressed with the transportation system they had there, in the city, the busing for those people that, wanted to get around a little quicker than walking. I was impressed by the cleanliness of the city, the high tech of the city, from the beauty of the surrounding mountains, countryside. The hunter in me was impressed by the huge persimmons because we have persimmon trees here that the deer like, and sometimes I've even hunted near them to try to get a shot at a deer with my bow. But the persimmons that I saw on some trees in Korea were, the fruit itself was 3 or 4 times larger than what it is here in Tennessee. But yeah, it was a cool city.
We didn't even go to Seoul. You said that just Cheonan was a big city enough for you. And it's radically different from Clarksville.
I also enjoyed your friend, and I apologize for forgetting his name, but they carried us to that.
Yeah, Joe Yushik.
Old village.
Yeah. Yushik's a great guy.
That we went to, which was a tourist attraction, but it was cool. I mean, I enjoyed that. That was
a great spot. We saw that awesome traditional performance with the guy. All those complex movements choreographed together. He has the thing on his hat where he's like spinning his head as he's doing all this other stuff. And
right. Yeah.
Yeah, no, Yushik, he knows where to go. That was really cool of him to take us out there.
yeah, I mean that was one of the highlights of the trip for me was, getting to do that with you, and also sharing your classroom.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that, and interacting with the kids, and which I'd never really, I've been in front of adults, quite a few times in my job, but never a classroom of kids, so that was a new experience for me.
And it was a bunch of kids who were just fascinated by you.
Yeah,
I have a kid.
They all seem to be so well behaved too, and good kids.
Yeah, more so with you
I
than
was impressed by that.
That particular year, those sixth graders that you went up in front of, that particular year was not the best behaved group of kids I've ever taught, as a whole. I mean, I like teaching, and I've enjoyed students every year and stuff, but that was not one of the easy ones. But
though they seem fine to me, and I would venture to say that they were all angels compared to some of the classrooms of similar age kids here in the States.
Possibly. I think that it helped that they were fascinated by you. I had one boy, he told me, I'm not very tall. I'm like 5'9". I'm actually slightly shorter than average in America for a guy, but I had a student who just, I guess, thinks I'm tall just because he's a kid and I'm an adult. Or this was like 3 years ago, granted, but he said after he met you that day, like I think it was a later day, he said, I thought Jordan teacher was tall, but then I met your dad and wow, he's really tall.
Yeah.
He said it in English.
Well,
I think. No, I think he said it in Korean, and Hugh, my co-teacher, translated.
Yeah. Well, they were probably fascinated from things that I take for granted here in the States. But, I was fascinated from things that were new to me that I saw in Korea. So it's just different parts of the world, and what people take for granted that live there, may be fascinating.
Yeah.
To someone on the other side of the planet, that doesn't have those life experiences.
Children here are very, very far removed from having the woods in your backyard, having a backyard at all.
Right.
Having their parents hunt, like the kids don't know, and eating deer to them is extremely exotic. You making bows and arrows, I mean, most boys only see that from like superhero movies and video games they play. So the thought of you living in this house with I showed them pictures of the house and stuff, and of you living in this house with like the forest on 3 sides of it, hunting deer and making weapons with which to hunt the deer is it's very different from.
But Korea has that,
the best archers,
that history. Korea has a large archery history, and if you look at the traditional archery, like Korean archery team, they're, especially the women, I mean, they're amazing.
Mm-hmm.
They're some of the top, if not the top, archers in the world, from shooting the outdoor 60-yard targets with recurve bows. I mean, they're amazing.
Yeah, I guess
archery.
Some of them learn how to do it somewhere.
Yeah. But I'm sure there's some good Korean bowyers, which is the term for people that make bows. There's probably some of that around. It's just might have to look for it, a little bit to find it, but I'm sure it's there.
Oh, I was gonna say something earlier about, this is going way back, but I was talking about those roaches, those wharf roaches from the sea, and I said I had a brief story about those, that I didn't end up telling it, but so I just got back from Jeju like 2 days ago now, I guess. It was yesterday morning that I got back, and then it took me some time to actually get home because I had to take a subway ride from the airport to the bus terminal. Like, they're no longer doing buses directly to and from the airport in my city. Anyway, I got home and I was just super tired. That whole trip was so go, 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 hiking the mountain, and there were just a lot of hikes, even not even just the mountain, but just a lot of, like, we're walking up for a long time and it's very hot. So it was so go, 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 and then finally got home and I was just beat, and so that was yesterday, and then today I was also still really tired. I woke up and I had a headache, and I didn't really know why. Like, I just felt exhausted, and so I kept taking naps, and I think I was just tired. I think my body was just exhausted, so I feel better now. But the last nap I took before I woke up, okay, so this is getting a little, like, I've been thinking about scabs because I got a pair of hiking boots for this hike, and the first time I wore them, I didn't wear socks that went up high enough to protect my, like, skin and ankles from the tops of the boots. So as I was walking around the lake, the boots chafed at my legs pretty bad. It actually started to hurt quite a bit, but I got home, and then I put Band-Aids over those for the hike. No, I put Band-Aids over those, and then I forgot to reapply them before the hike. So, but I wore socks that went up high enough this time. But I guess the hike kind of rubbed them raw again. So then I had to put this medicine spray and bandages that I got from a clinic or from a pharmacy on them. Anyway, a lot of backstory, but just I guess, like, healing scabs have been in the back of my brain recently. And then prior to taking a nap today, I spent a lot of time editing footage of me and Jihi at that place with the tidal pools and just, like, tons and tons of roaches. And so when I took a nap, I had a dream that I had a mostly healed scab on the back of my hand, and I thought there was a dead roach inside, like it had been on the wound and then my skin had healed around the roach. And it sounds really terrible, yeah. And I was looking at the skin and I could kind of see through it, and I was like, I think that's a roach in there. And so then I did this with my hand, because the scab wasn't fully healed yet, so doing this tight enough kind of made it pop open again. And I looked and I was like, oh yeah, there is a roach in my hand. So then I prepared to dig it out of my hand, and then I woke up before that happened. But it was kind of that hazy, like, you wake up but you're not fully awake yet, so you don't yet realize that what you just dreamed about is not real. You know what I'm talking about? So yes. I was still thinking there was a roach in my hand, but I was also conscious of lying in my bed. So I was like, oh, I gotta get this roach out, but I'm so tired, I just don't want to do it right now. I'm just gonna keep my eyes closed. And then I didn't fall back asleep, and so very gradually I started to think, I don't think there actually is a roach in my hand. And then I looked, and there was not.
I'm glad to...
Yeah, what a horrible thing. But it didn't bother me that much in the dream. It was kind of gross, but it wasn't as... You would think having your skin heal around a hideous insect and it being under your skin would just be the most violated feeling. But in my dream, it was more just kind of like, oh, I better take care of that. It didn't bother me that much.
Sounds like that movie of the mummies where they're...
Oh, the scarabs.
These bugs.
Yeah, the scarabs.
These bugs got inside and you could see them actually moving. When I'm dreaming, when I'm dreaming, I think I have a defense mechanism that when something starts getting very bad and I don't want to deal with it, I just
that happens to me too. Probably a lot of people.
It's like, I'm out of here, and I get out of that dream and I wake up. It's like
I'm done. I'm not entertaining this anymore.
I'm not going there. And then I'm like, oh wow, I actually do have a decent life. I'm in no real danger here, or I don't have to deal with this sad emotional thing, and I just wake up and get away from it. So, yeah.
I think.
Call me a coward if you will.
No, you're just like, I'm done. No, some things are just so horrible, and it's a dream, so it can be as relentless as it wants to be. And after a while, you just gotta be like, I'm not doing this anymore. It's like some part of your brain.
Yeah, and you just. Where did that come from? How did I even dream something like that? But I prefer good stuff, and happy times over the other extreme.
The roach thing made me think of. I remember you watching a movie when I was a kid. You were watching a movie it was on TV or something, and there was some woman who was like stranded in this jungle. She had crash landed there. I forgot how she wound up there, but some woman was trapped in like a rainforest or a jungle, and she was trying to survive and waiting to maybe someday be rescued, but she didn't know if anyone was coming. And at some point, she had some wounds that these flies came and laid eggs in, and then she had these she had to rig up these hooks to like pick maggots out of her skin because of these like jungle flies had laid eggs in her wounds. And I remember you watching that, and you were just like, "Whew, she's in bad shape, Jordan." I remember you telling me that. Just a random memory I have. I don't know what movie it was.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't know if I remember that.
It's just something it's always kind of, it's one of those just things that has stuck in my mind from childhood.
Yeah. Well, I apologize for watching that in front of you.
That's fine. I don't know how old I don't think I was that young. Maybe like 9 or 10.
Yeah. I've been making some wooden spoons, talking about hobbies and jumping around, so I've been making some wooden spoons lately. So you'll get to see some of those when you next come home. Osage and walnut, 2 different woods. But
anything that can be held in one's hand for a purpose, you have made it out of wood, it seems like.
No, not anything, but I'd like to make some bowls sometime. Bowls like eating out of a bowl,
bowls.
And I think I would enjoy lathe work. So I don't know if I'll get the opportunity to do that. I made a bowl when I was in college, and was taking a wood shop class as some elective, but I look at that bowl now, it's sitting on top of the refrigerator, and I would do it so differently than what I did then. I don't know what I was thinking. I should have taken a lot more wood out of the inside of it, made the walls thinner and the bowl deeper instead of this big heavy bowl that it is. But I don't know, we all progress. You may look back on this video today 10 years from now, it's like, man, with what I know now versus, it's just we all gain more experience. And
I already look back on some of my first videos and think they look like trash. It's kind of a shame. This is an important enough thing to me that I wish people, like more people, would watch, but looking back at some of the older stuff, I couldn't have learned it if I hadn't started doing it, so I wouldn't be where I am. And I'm very much still very, very much an amateur. Like, I'm still learning and I have a long way to go, but drastic improvement in quality from the older stuff, I think. And it's just kind of a shame. You can draw more people in with just high quality stuff, but I couldn't get to the level of skill I currently have if I hadn't just dived. If I hadn't just started doing it. And so that just means the older stuff is going to be lower quality.
Linda's, my dad collected violins, and some of them were, real old, and he tried to work on them, and he didn't know much about, I'm sure, technique-wise. I mean, he didn't know a lot about what he was doing. But anyway, he collected old violins, and I've got 4 now of his violins. But here in the past few years, I've started trying to learn how to play some, and I actually took lessons for about 6 months. But when Linda's mother was alive, she was over here at our house, and she played piano, and Linda played piano, but Linda's mother was pretty good on the piano. She played jazz type songs, and she was just all over the keyboard. You know, just, I mean, she could let them rip. I got to hear some of it, and that was after she was an old woman, you know, so there's no telling how good she would have been if I could have heard her, you know, 20 years prior. But anyhow, there is, I am getting to a point here. She inspired, one of the songs that she liked to play on the piano was Stardust. So I looked up, and with Linda's help, I looked up the sheet music to Stardust for a violin, and we converted it to tablature, which I've learned how to read tablature. So, I mean, I was practicing Stardust and planned on playing it for her sometime, Linda's mother. Yeah. Well, there is a video, and I forget now what I was playing, but there's a video of me playing a song, and we were sitting at the dining room table, and Linda's mom is sitting there in a chair, you know, across from me, listening and watching me play this. It wasn't Stardust, some other song, but on the violin, and it was in some of my early days, not far removed from having taken lessons, that I was playing. And she didn't have a smile on her face, and there was a strained look. and I didn't realize this at the time when I was actually sitting there playing, but she wasn't enjoying what I was doing. And when I could finish the song, she just kind of, keep practicing. That's what she said. That's all she said. She just said, keep practicing. So she has inspired me, both from her musical ability and those 2 words that she told me to keep practicing, and she's passed away now, but I bet I've played Stardust hundreds of times, you know, practicing that song, and I never did get to play it for her. And I never will be good on a violin, but even the violin for me is therapy. I mean, I can be sitting here and start to thinking about something I don't want to think about, and you can see I showed you the violin's right next to my chair, and I can reach over and pick the violin up and go somewhere else, you know, and enjoy that. But nobody else has to enjoy it. Probably would. But for me, I have improved though. But I may never be entertaining to others with it, but it is a tough instrument.
Yeah, I don't even.
There's no frets on the violin.
Right.
You just have to search. You know.
Just search out the sound.
Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, just if you enjoy it, if it's important to you. Like I'm frustrated. There is that desire to go back if it were possible, and make my older videos better. I know I could make them look better just by going back and color grading them better. I'd have to re-upload them, and I'm not going to do that. I kind of, you have to just do something a lot to get good at it, and you're not going to do it. You're not going to keep it up and do it a lot unless A, you enjoy it, and or B, it's important to you. So it's kind of paradoxical. You want the things that are important to you to be of high quality, but if it's a new skill you're starting out, you won't be able to make them high quality unless you start doing. And you're probably not going to stick with doing unless you're doing something that matters to you. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think there's any other way this could have played out. So I just look at the older videos and the progression of my skill, if you want to call it that. I look at that as an example of an evolution of artistic interest and skill, the same way that Jamison always allowed himself room to experiment and grow and get better in his artistic endeavors. So in a way, if I went back and color graded them, I think that aspect of it would be lost. I think it's kind of important that the older ones look noticeably worse.
I agree. Totally agree. You need to know where you came from, you know. And Linda has been learning watercolor painting.
Yeah, and you've shown me some of that, and she's good. It's good what she's doing.
Yeah, she's improved a lot, but along that same progression standpoint, she's kept a lot of her early paintings that she's done, and she's even got a notebook that she's kind of keeping a record of. She'll practice some painting technique or whatever in this notebook, and then she dates it and may even put some notes in there, and you can just leaf through it. And I think that's kind of cool because she wants to remember and see the progression, the evolution that you talked about. She wants to have a visual record of that, just like your videos are a visual record, you know, that you can refer back to. You know, I saw, oh heck, who did all the Star Wars?
Oh, George Lucas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he did stuff when he was a kid and with neighborhood kids, and recently I watched a documentary on him that showed some of those early movies that he used to do with kids. So compare that to, you know, Star Wars and even some of his more recent stuff. Yeah, I mean, each trip starts with a first step, you know, whether you're climbing a mountain or it's some hobby or career or whatever, you know, you gotta crawl before you walk, before you run.
and you're not gonna finish that trip unless it's a trip worth taking, or at least it has to be worth it to you. So you'll look back and you'll wish you'd done things differently, but at least you got off the ground.
I did stuff at my career, my job, my living that I'm proud of, and I never would have ever dreamed that I could have done, but you know, when you're pushed, sometimes there's only you to get an end result that has to be there. Then you do whatever you have to do to get there, and but it helps if you enjoy it. You know, I'm much better at stuff that I enjoy doing, and I guess that's true of anybody.
Yeah.
Than stuff that you have to do and don't enjoy.
Creates more of a positive feedback loop in your brain.
Right, and you're much more willing to spend the time doing it and gain that experience. And
if you can somehow make that into something meaningful, it can be it's already a positive thing, and you can see improvement, you can measure improvement. It can also become like you said, something therapeutic. If you can tie it into some meaningful, like a ritual or something, a way of remembering and honoring somebody you've lost. You're not happy you lost them, but that ritual of honoring them can be a positive thing. Something that you know they would appreciate if they were here, and maybe they can see it.
Right. You do it in their memory, or at least partly in their memory, and it's a way to feel closer to them, to have positive memories come back involved with them, or at least most of them you hope would be positive, good memories, and it's a way to grieve, and it's a way to it's therapeutic. We each have dealt with Jamison's death in our own way. Those that you and myself and Jamison's mother, we unfortunately have his death in common. We all loved him, and we've had to live with what happened and try to deal with it. It's hard for some people to understand. I've had friends tell me, you just need to get past this, Greg. If I mention something to them, I just don't get it. It's if you haven't dealt with losing a child or brother, or I don't know,
someone well before their time,
with so much promise, and it's like for a parent, I see that little boy that was running for home, because we were like, run home, Jamison. I see that innocence, that talent, that what could have been before he got involved in what eventually took his life. And as a parent, I will always struggle with what could I have done to prevented that. How could I have redirected him when he was still that innocent child, and protected him from drugs? And I've talked about that and thought about that so much, and people say you did the best you could. Well, did I? It's pretty terrible that he died way before his time, and and there's nothing you can do about it. I still want to as a parent, I still want to fix it. You know, your mind that pulls these little scenarios, like you can still fix it. You can still go back and what if, you know, do this or do that, and avoid that terrible outcome that happened. And then you come back to present day in real life. It's like, no, he's gone, and there's not a damn thing I can do about it. And you know, those are the type memories and thoughts that I try to stiff arm and push away. But it's hard. I mean, it is a daily struggle for me, and I think always will be. But time heals some, you know. It maybe it removes some of the emotions that talking about it at one time you couldn't have without just breaking down. But I feel like it's a scar that won't ever heal, you know, fully. It's kind of like that roach that was under your skin, you know, and the scab, and he busted loose. You know, it's, you know, that those memories are going to bust loose from time to time. You know, it's never going to heal totally. Not that. So, anyway.
That's been something that I've kind of, I think when I didn't consciously think this, but you talking about wanting to fix it. Me making the tribute series, I think part of me unconsciously thought me making this tribute to him is going to be setting things right somehow. And over the course of working on it and making it and all the stuff that goes into it for these past 2 years, I've had moments here and there where it occurred to me that that's kind of what I was doing, not realizing I was doing that, but that's kind of where some part of my brain that I wasn't really aware of was at. And it occurred to me, like, there is no setting this right. You know, it happened, and there's only what to do after the fact, and there's only moving forward. So making the series, there's not going to be a happy, triumphant ending. Like when I hiked to the top of, when I wrapped up the base game with that hike up the third highest mountain in Korea, which was actually a harder hike than the one I did the other day. But yeah, I said there's nothing. It seems like this should be a profound, significant moment because it's the end, but it's not really the end. There's nothing really I can say to just wrap things up and put a bow on it. Yeah. All this stuff we're talking about, you don't really correct anything or fix anything. You just do it. Maybe it helps, and maybe it's a good gesture, and maybe he can see it, and that's something that I hope a lot, is just that somehow he can know that he's being thought of and he's remembered and he's loved, and that people are putting time and effort into something kind of as a way of honoring him. I just hope there's some way he can know that and feel that. But we don't know if he can know or not. But what's the alternative to doing things in his memory and his honor and things that help us? What's the alternative to that? Like, we might as well do it, right?
Yeah. Well, I strongly believe it's therapeutic. Yeah. It's a way of dealing with the grief and trying to get over it somewhat, and keeping your mind occupied in a more positive place, while at the same time maybe having some positive memories of him, you know. And Jamison and I used to text with WhatsApp, and when he was in California, and even when he went to Colombia, and I still have all those records, and it's hard when I read through them because I'm looking at the time, when it was all taking place, knowing what happened and knowing, okay, this was just 2 weeks before he died. This was just a few days before he died, and it's what. I told you one time he had contacted me and wanted to video chat with me, and I couldn't hear him when we were video chatting. I couldn't hear him. I could see him, and he could hear me. And he wanted to video chat for some reason, and I'll never know what that reason was. And it could have been him reaching out for help. It could have been. I don't know. And because it was not long before he died. And I was just like, well, what can I do to... So I went out on the deck, and I just kind of, with my phone, I panned the yard and just let him see the yard and the house. And that's one of the what ifs. What if I'd been able to... We never revisited that. He didn't. He could have texted me and told me what it was, but he didn't. It's, the very last text I have from him, we were talking about him moving back to California, and I told him I'd like for Linda and I to come out and see him, and his last text was like, quote, "I would love for y'all to come visit me in California." Or, of course, I would love for y'all to come visit me in California. And I never got to do that. He didn't make it back to California.
He, something, hold on a sec. Hold on a sec. I'm just making sure of the date. The last, message I sent him on Facebook was it was the 19th for me. It was June 19th for me of 2018, and I told him it's Father's Day, and he didn't, I don't know if he maybe saw it but didn't click on it, but it shows up as unread, so as far as I know, he didn't read that message. But
what date was it?
Well, Father's Day in 2018, I had to look it up just now, was June 19th. And I'm always hazing on the exact date because of the time difference in South Korea. But my understanding is that Jamison died on June 18th. And right. Father's Day was June 19th, but for me it was Father's Day, and that's the last message I sent him before I knew. Maybe he was still alive when I sent that message. I don't really know the time frame. But that's always stuck out to me is it's pretty bad. That's got to be pretty rough for you. Just for that to happen so close to that particular day. It's just kind of it's kind of cruel. Just cruel timing.
Yeah, my father passed away on 4th of July.
Yeah, or July, yeah.
And he was a
World War II veteran.
World War II veteran, so that's kind of significant too. I guess just that it was Father's Day is not what I focus on. It was just such a shock You know, it was just, I know you and I have talked about this before, but Jamison used to talk about
death.
He would reference death. Not that he'd really talk about it, but he would text you and maybe say, I'm still alive, or some silly, just, but yet dark. I didn't like it. I didn't like it when he did that. And I didn't understand it. Why? And I think he had this fear. I think he felt like this addiction would take his life eventually, or at least there was a risk of it. And I talked to him about it one time, face to face, and I said, Jamison, don't you know if something happened to you? Don't you know that would just be such a tragedy for your family? It would just destroy us. And I don't know if he went that deep into the, how it would affect others. I don't know if that was some thought that it was too painful for him to try to go there. But I actually said that to him, face to face. That wasn't a text. And he didn't answer me. He just kind of just kept looking at me, so I feel like once I knew Jamison had this problem, that I did all I needed to do to try to help him. It's what happened before that I have a hard time with. I feel like maybe I let him down, and I didn't know. I was ignorant of it. I was naive of it. I just wish I could have headed it off and redirected him. Reflection can be a hard thing to do. I mean, it's when it's something like this, when you're thinking about something like this. Especially when you're my age now, and you're looking back on life, raising your kids, and you can't do it over. You can't edit it. You're able to go in and edit your video. Yeah, you're just taking out the parts that you don't want to see, or you don't think apply, or for whatever reason. You can't really change the content that much, other than maybe cosmetically, but the content is still there. I can't go back and edit my life. I can't. I can't fix it, and it's you just have to deal with it. And I think a lot of the hobbies I do, and there's a combination of feeling closer to you and Jamison, and just trying to occupy my mind. It's a lot of things. And that's probably true of you too. And
I don't think I could have moved forward. I don't think I could have just gone back to regular life and just been happy and okay if I didn't have this to work on. I think I needed to be doing something, because when I first got back to Korea, I didn't start this immediately. I actually just spent a lot of time in my room just like kind of doing nothing, playing video games and just like reeling and then thinking about it. It was later that year that I bought a camera and didn't really know what I was going to do with it yet. It's just I've always kind of wanted to do stuff with video. I just thought it would be fun. So I just kind of impulse bought a camera while I was at Costco just for shopping for groceries. And and then I started thinking of what I could do with it now that I had it. But yeah, like I think if I hadn't started doing something like this, I don't think I would have been able to healthily go back to regular life. I don't know what exactly it would have been like, but I think the loss and the sadness and the grief would have started manifesting in less healthy ways than how they do currently.
I know it's hard, and I'm sad a lot, but I try to go on and have as many positive times as I can. I try to go on and live, and I know that's what Jamison would want for all of us, but I don't consider that I'm not being, oh heck, what's the word? Respectful to his memory if I'm laughing with somebody. I don't have to be continuously sad in order to be respectful of him.
No, he would not want that. So forcing yourself to stay mired in sadness is the opposite of respecting him.
Right.
So
what time is it there?
It's 12:42.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I should probably stop recording because the first video was like over an hour long and this one is now like an hour and a half long. I can edit a lot of this stuff out, but this conversation has given me a massive amount of material with which to make new episodes, assuming you're comfortable with it.
Well, I guess I am. It's not something that I'm used to talking in semi-private topics.
If you don't want me to, I can just have the stuff about Jamison in Maine. I can just scrap all the other stuff. If you're not,
well,
I wanted to feature you because you're mine and Jamison's dad, and also because you had this specific memory.
A lot of and that's okay because it's important to you, so it's okay for you to have as a record for years to come after I'm long gone, and you can look at that walking stick, or you can look at that candy dish, or you can look at that 5-gallon glass carboy, or the dogwood bow, any of those things, and you know what your dad said about them, and maybe have a little insight of why those were special items for me in my life. Because after I'm gone, there's things that I look around to that I have my own personal memories associated with that go back to my childhood. You weren't there then, you know. It's you don't have those same memories. So some of those items may not mean to you what they would to me. But at least if I'm telling you about some of them, you know, the churn that I helped make butter in, and by the way, that milk was from the Holstein cow that we had that was a huge pet. Her name was Mo, and she was just a huge pet in a way that a dog may be for somebody else. That's how big a pet she was. And she's this big cow, but we raised her from a calf. So I can look at that churn and think about churning butter from Mo's milk, you know, and there's more than just churning butter. You know, there's all the memories associated with that cow, you know, in my childhood. So I don't know. I mean, it's about leaving a part of myself for you. It's conversations that I can have with you, and you got a record of that you can refer back to. That is the type of conversations I wish I'd had with my dad. You know, and even if I'd had some of them, I may not remember it all. You know, so my purpose of doing this and you videoing it is more for that reason, you know, for your own personal being able to refer back and remember, and then it is, you know, yeah, I want to help you out with your videos.
That's part of why
I know that's important to you, but I have my own selfish reasons.
Yeah, I appreciate having that. That's also why I'm trying to collect memories of Jamison too, is to have a record of them. That's why it's especially important to get them from other people, stuff that I would never have known. And once those people are gone, those memories are lost.
Right. The conversation I talked about earlier with my mother, the last conversation I had with her, she was doing that with me. But anyway, I do get off on tangents, don't I?
That's okay. You seen the length of some of my videos? I do the same, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Well, I guess it's in your genes.
Yeah, probably. I think it's a Bagwell thing. I think it's your side of the family.
My dad loved to talk.
Yeah. And like Earl and Dennis, of course. Don't even have to say anything else.
Yeah, it's best that we don't. You're not still recording.
I am, but I can trim this part.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway. It's almost 1, so I need to do some I don't need to do it right away, but I kind of want to do some laundry because it's sitting in there like wet. Like a recently used towel.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I spent the night before last, I didn't sleep good. I woke up around 1 o'clock. Finally got up about 2:30 after trying to go back to sleep for an hour and a half. So, yesterday I was tired, but I got a lot done. I worked on a tree stand and did a lot of welding, cutting steel to length and welding it and working on this tree stand. So the temperatures outside are halfway decent this week. It's in the 80s for the highs.
That's pretty good.
Where it has been really hot. Yeah. It's going to be hot again next week, so I'm probably going to go and try to do a little finish work on that stand. I mostly got the hard stuff all done yesterday, but that's another. I enjoy welding. I enjoy being able to take steel and weld it together and make it into something that's useful and that it's going to give you a long life. Something you didn't know, and I'll tell you this real quick, is your grandfather. Part of what he did after the war, he welded some for people, but there was this big houseboat that he welded a bottom onto it, and it was probably 1/4-inch plates of steel. I don't know how he got it lifted it and got it in position to even weld it, but he welded a bottom on this houseboat for a man, and it never leaked. And I barely remember that man taking our family for a ride. I had to have been 5 or 6 at the oldest, but taking us for a ride in that houseboat that my dad had welded a bottom onto. So even the welding for me is, it's something I can share with my dad. The winemaking for me is something that I can share with my dad because he did it also, and my grandmother, even though neither one of them got to taste any of my wine. So yeah, I'm all about nostalgia and looking back on some of that.
If that's if it doesn't completely run your life and the bug is back. I really hope it's just one. I don't know what it is.
You may ought to spray.
Yeah. Anyway, as long as nostalgia doesn't take over your life in a negative way, if you can do something positive with it, I think that's all right.
Right. Well, if we don't end this, I'll just find something else to talk about, and you're going to bed and going to sleep will be delayed and delayed and delayed, and you may be into your tomorrow, which you already are, I guess. But we'll go out tomorrow and eat a good Korean meal, that I won't get to share with you, but I enjoyed some when I was there, so you can do that and kind of think about me, and Dad would like this.
I'll save that for the weekend, I think. I'll eat something with Jihi.
Okay. That's cool. Eventually, we need to talk about when you think you might be able to come. But anyway. Okay. I went there and I shouldn't have.
Yeah, I was thinking I was going to keep that in just for the sake of giving the full experience of what it's like to wind down from saying goodbye the first time to the actual end of the conversation. for the sake of my records.
Yeah, what else do you want to talk about?
But then I thought maybe you don't actually want your views on YouTube, so I'll probably actually clip that.
Probably not, just because it is a heated topic.
I'll clip that.
And yeah, but with that thought in mind that you can edit this stuff out, you know, it's